Olam chesed yibanei, yananai, nai, nai, da, 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 da. Olam chesed yibanei, yananai, nai, nai, da, 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 da. Olam chesed yibanei, yananai. I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is so good to see you here, particularly those of you for whom this is your first time back in this sacred space in a long time. It is great to see you in these seats and to know that the air in this room is filled with your prayers. Welcome, and to those of you who are returning, welcome back home. To those of you that are joining us online from your homes or from wherever you are, I want to welcome you as well and wish you a Shabbat Shalom. If you've not yet had a chance to, I want to invite you to introduce yourself in the chat box on our live stream page or on the Facebook Live video to let us know where you're viewing from and to offer Shabbat greetings to the rest of our community. This weekend is also a very special weekend for the Gabelnick family, as Dahlia and Micah prepare to enter the world of Jewish adulthood tomorrow when they become a B'nai Mitzvah. And so I want to invite Dahlia and Micah and their parents, Stephanie and Aaron, up to the bima for the lighting of the Shabbat candles. We're going to begin with the meditation on page 3 of our prayer books, followed by the candle blessing on page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Lecha dodi likrat hanan, נסחור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, שמו תפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, לראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. We rise and face the entrance to welcome the Shabbat Queen. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Still standing now, we turn in our books to page 28, the call to worship, Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
On page 30, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhma poteach she'arim uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Alenu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 32, everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. We invite Micah to the reading table to lead us in V'ahavta, which can be found on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלבבך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לו תותפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
As Micah makes his way back to his seat, we'll turn in our books to page 41 for this meditation before Michamocha. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles and earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war and now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim, Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot of sefele, nora
On page 44 at the top of the page, we'll sing Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Israel et Hashabbat La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam Berit olam Vishamru b'nei Israel et Hashabbat La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam Berit olam Beini
Beini
uvein
uvein
b'nei Israel Oti
oti oti
le'olam Vishamru b'nei Israel et Hashabbat La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam Berit olam Kisheshet
Kisheshet
Yamim
Yamim
Asa
Asa
Adonai et Hashamayim
Shamayim
ve'et haaretz Vishamru b'nei Israel et Hashabbat La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam Berit olam Uvayom
Vayom
Hashvi'i
Hashvi'i
Shabbat vaynafash Shabbat
Shabbat vaynafash
Vishamru b'nei Israel et Hashabbat La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam Berit olam Vishamru b'nei Israel et Hashabbat La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam Berit olam La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam Berit olam
As we prepare to enter now the Amidah, the liturgical core of this worship service, which begins on page 46, it is my pleasure to invite Dahlia to the Bima to lead her congregation in prayer. As she makes her way to the leader table, the rest of us, as I said, will turn to page 46 and rise for the Amidah.
Adonai, sifai taiftiftak uvia gita ilateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ve'elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagado, Hagivor Ve'hanora, El Elyon, Komel Chasadim Tovis, Vikonei Hako, Vizoher Kaste Avot, V'ima'ot, Umuvigulav, Livnei V'nehem, Lemon Shemo Ve'hava, Melech Orzeru Mashiach Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Yitzrak Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mekayeko Atah Rav Le'oshia, Morid Ha'altal, Mekokel Kayim Behesed, Mekayeko Rakamim Ramim, So Mek Novim Verohe Kolim, Umat Mir Ishrim, Umekayem emumatov lishenei afar. Mikamo kappa, I'll give you rope. Umi don't walk. Malik menim umekaye. Umat mia ishua. Vamana tala hayotako. Baruch atah Adonai. Mekaye hako. Atah kadosh shishim kakadosh. Ukdedoshim v'hoyam. Yahallelu haseya. Baruch atah Adonai. Ha'el hakadosh.
As Dahlia makes her way back to her seat, and the rest of us take our seats as well, we'll move in our books now to page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehudot. We'll continue with our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, on page 60.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We take a few moments for our own personal and silent prayer. Oh, say shalom, shalom b'mumav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom b'mumav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael amen.
Like many of you, I'm sure every opportunity for personal prayer leads me to think very often these days about health and healing and recovery and restoration. And so we take a moment now to join those silent reflections with out loud reflections and prayer for healing. On this Shabbat, we turn our prayers and our thoughts outward to others to pray for their healing. On this Shabbat, we offer our Mishaberach for Sonia Benjamin, Marcia Block, Bradley Borden, Melba Berman, Miles Cohn, Edward Feldman, James Hess, Jerry Hooks, Richard Jackson, Sarah James, Mike Karchmer, Lawrence Levy, Bobby Mossbacher, Arthur Raymond Ribbon, Bernard Rosenfeld, Edward Simmons, Mervat Tadros, Marsa Tushita, Roger Williams, Gelkanachama Batli Bachaya, Leah Fruma, and all those in and beyond our circle of care who are suffering with physical illness, emotional distress and pain, and those battling COVID-19. The words of our prayer for healing are on page 253. Page 253.
May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say amen. And let us say amen.
On this Shabbat, we also have another very special prayer blessing to share in together, and it is my overwhelming delight to invite Emily Lundstreth and Mike Hammer to the lower reader table so that we can offer them a blessing and a prayer for their marriage, their love, and the beginning of their lives together. So I'll invite them to stand here at the lower reader table. Emily and Mike, your love your lives together, your marriage is exactly what the world needs. It is a reminder of what is most beautiful, most bright and hopeful, most optimistic and delightful in all of God's world. We are so grateful for you, for the love that you share, and for the light in your eyes that spills out to all those here with us tonight who love you very much. And so it is an absolute joy to offer you some words of blessing before the open ark. As I open the ark, I'll invite the congregation to rise. Eloheinu velohe avotenu ve'imotenu, our God and God of every loving couple before us, source of life and source of love, we ask your blessing on this loving couple. We ask that you look after them, you shield and guide and protect them. We ask that you spread over them a sukkot shalom, a shelter of peace, tranquility, goodness, and well-being. May their home be warm and welcoming. May their days be filled with delight and celebration. May they get to know you as they get to know each other every day of the lives that they share together. We are grateful for all of your gifts, for love and for family, for companionship and growth, and for that spark of great, overwhelming hope, joy, and optimism that we see in the eyes and the smiles, the hands and the hearts of this and every loving couple. And so we are delighted to give our thanks to you, O God, for the lives that these two share, for the opportunity to see one more day of hope and celebration. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. You have given us life, and you have sustained us, and you have brought us to this delightful, joyful, blessed day. Amen.
Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, and siman tov, mazel tov, and siman tov.
Ye'elanu. Emily and Mike, I won't let you go yet because I have some gifts for you that I'll give to you at the end of the service. My joy and my happiness for you and your families is shared by our whole congregation, by its leadership and its auxiliaries. So I have the opportunity to tell you about a few gifts that you'll be receiving from them. First, our board of trustees is delighted to give you this mezuzah for you to hang on the doorpost of your house that we hope will symbolize your covenant with what is eternal and your commitment to build a Jewish home, and that you'll think of it and us every time you come in and out of the home that you will share together. I also have a couple of books to present to you. First, these gifts from our auxiliaries. First, the book on the doorposts of your house, Prayers and Ceremonies for the Jewish Home, and the Incredible Edibles cookbook of the Sisterhood of Congregation Emanu, so that all of the days you spend together will be delicious and delectable. Mazel tov to you both. I am so thrilled, and I'll see you after the service so I can give you your gifts. Mazel tov. There's nothing better than a wedding. I just love it. All right, so everything now is going to be anticlimactic after we got to celebrate a wedding couple, but I do have a few announcements that I need to share with you tonight. A reminder to all of you and all of you who are members of our congregation, our annual meeting will be this Sunday, April 18th at 4:00 p.m. That meeting will be held over Zoom. It is very, very important that if you're a member of our congregation, you register to attend the annual meeting. The presence of a quorum is the only way that we can do the very important work of bringing our congregation into its next fiscal year. It's not too late to sign up. If you haven't yet, please do register to attend our annual meeting Sunday at 4. This coming Tuesday, April the 20th at 7 p.m., also on Zoom, I will have the great opportunity to sit down with Ambassador Dennis Ross and a Middle East expert, David Makovsky, to talk a little bit about the Israeli relationship with the United States, with the recent Israeli elections, the seemingly ongoing and never-ending Israeli elections, and the recent Abraham Accords in the Middle East. You'll have to register for that as well. You can do that on our website, but both of these gentlemen are incredibly well-informed, and their experience speaks for itself. So please do make a point of joining us on Tuesday to hear about what's going on in the Middle East. A reminder that our new Emmanuel Running Club launched this past Wednesday and will continue every Wednesday morning at 7:45. We'll meet in the west parking lot to do a lap or two around the Rice Outer Loop. All paces and all levels of experience are welcome, so come run with us on Wednesday. Our congregation, as I hope you know, has now moved into phase 4 of our reopening plan, which means that we are able to increase the amount of in-person programming and attendance here at services and on our program calendar. If you'd like to join us for Shabbat worship and you are at home right now, we'd love to have you join us for a Friday night service, and you can help us do that by registering on our website. We ask that you observe the deadline of the Thursday evening before Shabbat to let us know that you're coming. And as a reminder, our Shabbat worship will continue to be accessible online in all the same ways that you are joining us tonight. Any additional updates will be shared on our website and with our congregation as they come out. Lastly, for those of you that are here tonight in our Barish Sanctuary, I'm going to ask you that at the conclusion of our service, you remain in your seat so that I can dismiss you from the back of the room out so that we can ensure social distancing as best we can. And I'll ask you to go ahead and leave your prayer books in the pew and keep your distance as you make your way out of the building. And we're really glad that you're here with us tonight. And now I want to introduce you this evening as part of my remarks tonight. I want to introduce you to an important figure from Jewish history who's someone that you may not have encountered before. Joseph Trumpeldor was a Jewish soldier and an activist who lived in Russia around the turn of the 20th century. Trumpeldor was an idealistic Russian Zionist who had a dream of one day moving to the Holy Land and establishing a communal farming operation. So he kept nurturing and feeding this dream, and eventually in the year 1911, he was finally able to see his vision become a reality, and he left Russia and moved to start his new life in Palestine. Several years went by, and in the spring of 1920, Trumpeldor found himself in command of a small group of Jews who were defending a cluster of farming villages in the northernmost edge of the Galilee. So on the first day of March, the villages were raided by a large group of armed militiamen who had come down from southern Lebanon. Trumpeldor and his men defended themselves against the ambush, but he was shot several times and he died a few hours later. And it's that deathbed scene that Trumpeldor is probably most famous for, because the sentence that was reported to be his last words lives on in Israeli legend and lore. The sentence that Trumpeldor is said to have uttered just before he died was this: "En davar tov lamut ba'ad artzenu." Never mind, it's good to die for our country. If you're a student of the classics, you may recognize that those words mirrored another famous sentence from a Latin poet named Horace. "It is sweet and honorable to die for one's country. Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori." A sentence like that does make sense coming from an ancient Roman poet who wrote about honor and valor, undying loyalty to the empire, but coming from a Jew, a sentence like that was shocking. Classic Hebrew literature from antiquity never expressed that value, never suggested that dying for one's country or one's government would be a good thing. But Trumpeldor's words struck a powerful chord in the early Zionist movement, and today in Israel, he is remembered as a hero remarkably both on the political left and on the right. Nevertheless, the everyday reality of struggle and bloodshed in the Middle East makes many Israelis hesitate just slightly when they hear his words repeated. Is it really good to die for a country? Is it? Israel's Memorial Day, Yom HaZikaron, fell this past Wednesday. And if you've ever been in Israel during Yom HaZikaron, you may agree with me that in many ways that day is the most sacred day of the year in Israel. Its seriousness and solemnity certainly more widely observed than Yom Kippur. When the siren is sounded to begin the holiday, everyone throughout the country stops in streets and offices and shopping centers, and they observe a nationwide moment of silence. It is an extraordinary example of public grief, public mourning, everyone for just a minute connected in the experience of shared loss and bereavement. And it is very much an experience of shared loss because you'll remember that Israel's population is less than 10 million. The country is less than 73 years old. So when this year the Yom HaZikaron commemoration recognized 23,928 military casualties of war, it is clear that everyone there knows someone who gave their life to defend the state. That is one of the things that makes Yom HaZikaron so different from our American Memorial Day, which is more likely to be commemorated at barbecues and mattress sales than at veterans' memorials or cemeteries. The Torah portion that we read this week contains a confounding passage about blemishes, visible stains or marks that appear in the walls of one's house, red streaks that grow and spread through the plaster, almost like bloodstains on the walls. Fortunately, the Torah tells us there is a remedy if your house should be stricken with this strange phenomenon. The homeowner must scrape the plaster off the walls, pull out and discard the stones that were affected, remove the mortar that held them in place, and then carefully spread new mortar in the hole, slide in new stones, and finally replaster the wall. It's hard to know what that passage was originally meant to teach us, how to understand the long-vanished world in which bloody streaks would appear spontaneously in the houses where we live. But there is, I think, deep wisdom in the reminder that sometimes growth and healing demands hard work that, in the short run, feels purely destructive. Chiseling out the stones of our walls, removing what is damaged or contaminated, and replacing it with material that is cleaner, stronger, and more reliable. It is hard, backbreaking work to make the places we live more structurally sound. And the truth is that every repair is only temporary. It's only a matter of time before the walls speak up again and remind us that something dark lies dormant within them. But it's work that we have to do if we want our houses to be made whole. And that's what made me think about Yom HaZikaron this week. Here in our country, you could easily go through a week, a month, a year without thinking about the people who died in defense of America and its values. But because Israel is so small, because its history is so short, you can't go very long at all without being confronted with the memory of those who gave their lives for the preservation of the Jewish state. And that, I think, is one of the messages of this strange portion from our Torah, that from time to time, even if it would have been just as easily to overlook them, it's important to excavate, to open up the walls of our homes, to reveal what lies within them and look closely at it, even if it's painful or upsetting. Because the things that make a sustainable home are probably the same things that make a sustainable nation. The ability to confront unsightly stains and not just cover them up. The ability to be brave and level-headed enough to remove and repair what is broken. The humility and the patience to see the changes through before moving back to normal life again. I suspect that Trumpeldor's last words his declaration that it's good to die for our country, will always give me a little chill when I hear them, especially because there are so many other things that I wish for Israelis to do for their country instead, to work for their country, to give to it, to live for it, and not just die for it. But I know that for every nation built on principles and philosophies, it will at times be necessary for citizens to give their lives for the flag and for the values for which it stands. But it's important to remember that we cannot forget, we must not forget the past if we wish to sustain the future. Because even when we think we're done with the past, it's never quite done with us. Even when we feel the eyes of mourning and grief upon us, we can't turn away. It is our job to return their gaze honestly and reverentially, so that the past and that the memory of those who came before us will always remain a blessing. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This evening, we find ourselves in an interesting time in the Jewish calendar, the period between the holidays of of Passover and Shavuot is a period of time on the Jewish calendar called the Omer, when we count each day one by one to fulfill the biblical commandment that you should number your days. And so in the period between these two holidays, we uphold a custom called counting the Omer, counting these days between those two holidays. So if you want to turn in your books to page 278, you'll have the opportunity to be a part of this once-a-year ritual of counting the Omer. And we begin with a blessing in the middle of page 278 before announcing the day that we are on today. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom esrim yom, shehem shnei shavuot v'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 20th day, which is 2 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. Having fulfilled the obligation of counting our days, we move toward the conclusion of our service and its reminders to make our days count. So if you'll join me on the bottom half of page 282 and rise, the ark will be opened for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu
L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, L'Atet Gedula L'Yotzer Breshit, Shelo Asanu K'goyei Ha'aratzot, Velo Samanu K'mishpechot Ha'adama, Shelo Sam Chelkeinu Kahem, V'gor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai L'melech al kol ha'aretz Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad
U'shemo
echad. So at this season of memory and this hour of memory, it is our opportunity now to do that sacred work of remembering. And so as we prepare for Kaddish, our thoughts turn to those who have departed the earth, our own loved ones and those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We take just a moment now for our own quiet memory. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. On this Shabbat, our hearts go out in sympathy to the families of Andra Barr, Nevin Brown, Mark Levy, Jordan Lewis, Michael Loeb, Bree Pugh, David Seligman, and Stanley Soroka, who have died in recent days. To their names, we add these, the names of those whose yahrzeits are observed at this season. Together, we remember Nathan Addlestone, Herbert L. Axelrad, Cynthia Aycock, Barbara Berman Breakiron, Ike Breyer, Mary G. Brockstein, Lois Smolinski Brook, Nancy Carlson, Edmund E. Cooper, Meyer Davidson, Herman Jack Dolich, Rose Enish, Morton Fenberg, John Fox Slater, David A. Friedman, Earl B. Friedman, Howard Gary, Alan B. Gaylor, Ella Gold, Annie Goldberg, Morris Samuel Goldberg, Ernestine Goldstucker, Chaya Rachel Goodfriend, Bernard H. Goodman, Sam Gordon, Lily Greenwald, Carnell Henderson, Minnie Joselit, Elaine Kalin, Ellen Kogan, Joseph Krull, Frida Kurtz, Cy Kortler, Coleman Lampy, Joshua Lecht, Harry D. Leva, Charlotte Jacobs Levy, Sam J. Lewis, Phyllis Greenberg Liebman, Florence Schwartz Littman, Flora Livingston, Milton Lotman, Frida S. Mann, Erwin I. Mark, Alice Matuzzi, David May, Clarence Mayer Sr., Karen Basson Michael, Helen Miller, Stephen Miller, Simon Minchin, Alex Moore, Ms. Maureen Muntz, Elaine Newman Plotkin, Grace Passon, Hans Pauli, Richard Plum, Fred W. Porter, Abraham Posmantier, Billy Fay Proler, Arthur Pronin, Nathan Prizant, Abraham Pye, Sylvia Aronson Rady, Jenny Rychek, Jerome Robinson, Sherman Chester Robinson, Gabriel Rosenbush, Nathan Roth, Ellie Shallett, Rudy Scheidt Sr., Lottie Schneidler, Anna Schuby, Babetta Schwartz, Naomi Schwartz, Jerry Schwartz, Harry David Schwartz Sr., Jacob Cedar, Isidore Joseph Shapiro, Frida Simon, Gerald Singer, C.J. Dolly Slavin, Royce-Ann Sline, Emma Smith, Louis Solomon, Ted Max Posip, Jefferson D. Steinhardt, Kurt Stern, Harry C. Sussman, Rose Tartikoff, Burton Tober, Loris Tota, Paula Warren, Carol Wasserstein, Sigmund J. Westheimer, Louis Wilk, Donald A. Winter, Goldie Winter, and Florence Yellen. The memories of all of our dear departed are with us as we turn to page 294 of our prayer books and we rise together for the recitation of Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. As we move now to our Shabbat blessings of Kiddush and Motzi, I'd like to invite Dahlia and Micah and their parents, Stephanie and Aaron Gabelnick, to the reading table to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi.
The rest of us can find our Kiddush blessings in our prayer books back on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kosho, v'ha'ava u'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila, mimikrai kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, michol ha'amim, ve'shabbat koshecha, ve'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat.
Amen. L'chaim, you can take a sip of your Kiddush. We're going to continue, after they get a good sip, we're going to continue with the blessing over that lovely looking challah so that we can give thanks for our food. Hopefully those of you at home are getting ready to enjoy a delicious Shabbat dinner, and so the Gabelnicks will offer you a hamotzi with which to begin your meal.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Amen. You can take a bite of your challah and head back to your seats. As the Gabelnick family makes their way back to their seats, all of the rest of you can take your seats as well. And Barbara, we're going to finish tonight with Hine Matov.
Yes.
It is really good
Which
to be
can
together.
be found on page 340.
Page 340. Hine Matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. Hine Matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim sheberachim gam yachad. Avinu Shebashamayim, celestial parent of us all, grant us your blessing on this Shabbat. May we be cheered and guided by the memories of our past, and may we be drawn forward, ever forward, to the promise of the future, a future of love and goodness, compassion, and peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. All right, folks, thank you all